Hello.
Bob Arum, Peter Maniatis, KO Boxing. How are you?
Good to talk to you. What time is it there?
It's 3 in the morning, believe it or not, Bob. So we're up early
Really?
for an early
yeah,
one.
that's what I figured.
Yeah, up for an early
good for
one.
you.
How is boxing right at the moment? I know you're trying to get it back in Vegas, and that's probably the place to get it back with hotels and building a little hub, obviously, where there's no audience there. But it's probably the safest and most responsible way to kick back the sport. How's the battle going with the commissions and the local governments and stuff?
Well, this is a very complicated situation because right now, with the coronavirus and with everything opening up slowly in the States, some people say it's premature for it to even be opening. So boxing has to proceed with caution. And we have been working exclusively with the Nevada Commission because our headquarters are in Nevada. And we have, together with state health authorities, with the coronavirus czar in Nevada, worked out a protocol where we can start doing fights as early as June 9 on a basis where there are no spectators, where everybody is tested, and we're going to be doing 2 to 3 events every week throughout the summer.
What would happen if someone does test positive, Bob? If someone was to test...
Well, of course you've got it here. We have what we call a bubble, where we made an arrangement with the MG, where they've given us one full floor, and we keep the participants on that floor. And nobody comes into the bubble unless they've been tested and they test negative. Now, once they test negative, they're in the bubble, and we bus them to our gym, which we sanitize and sterilize in Nevada, which is about a half mile away. And they do their work and so forth, and they eat in a restaurant designated at the hotel section of the restaurant just for that group, 4 at a table, etc. And then on the night of the fight, or the day of the fight, they're all tested again. Everybody, every fighter, every corner guy, even if he's been in quarantine, the commission, the referee, the judges, the camera people, everybody gets tested again. And fortunately, Nevada has obtained enough tests, so that's not a problem. And we can get the result of the test within 2 hours. So everybody is now tested, and if for some way that I can't figure out, somebody then tests positive, he's obviously off the card, and that fight is lost. We're scheduling 5 fights for a card. The television time really is going to be 3 hours. So basically it'll take 3 fights, possibly 4. So if we lose one fight, it's not a catastrophe. And then the question is, which fighters are available? And we have a tremendous number. Of course, we have there are travel bans all over the place. We can't, as yet, use Canadian fighters. We can't use UK fighters. I thought we couldn't use Australian fighters, but somehow the Maloney kids were able to get special permission, and they've flown over from Australia, and they're living in a house in Las Vegas using our gym, and they will go into the bubble as soon as we schedule their fights, which will probably be sometime towards the end of June. So it's wonderful that they're over here and they're part of the program. and like Shakur Stevenson, like Jamal Herring, the 130-pound champion, Oscar Valdez. They're all going to be available, and we will be scheduling them June, July, and even into August as part of this program. And hopefully, maybe by September or October, we'll be able to do fights on a limited basis for spectators. For example, keep all the protocols, and in a 15,000-seat arena, allow seating for 2 to 2,500 spectators. So that's all in the future. We're proceeding cautiously, and hopefully by the fourth quarter of the year, we'll be back to normal or almost to normal.
I interviewed Jack Reese recently, Bob, and he said refs might be using like a face mask or a shield as well, just to protect themselves. And there's also been talk that judges will be watching online and putting their cards in online. Would that be possible, or would they have to be active inside the building?
No. They will be active inside the building, but according to what I've learned from the Nevada Commission, instead of sitting right up at ringside like judges do, they'll be like 6 or more feet back from the ringside, and they'll be wearing masks and so forth, because they're not participants. The judges will wear masks. The inspectors probably masks and gloves. The corner people probably masks. I'm not sure. Obviously, the fighters wear masks, and the camera people and will all be wearing masks. But again, hopefully what we're doing starting June 9th will be a template for everybody else in boxing to follow, because I think we've really worked hard, my people, Brad Jacobs, Todd DeBuff, on all of these safety standards. We don't want anybody to get sick or anything like that, and we're going to do everything possible in our power to do these events as safely as possible.
No, of course, and I've read the template that Japan Boxing Commission planned to do, and it's very similar. It's probably going to be universal everywhere, where there's obviously going to be no crowds, and there's going to be sanitizers and pre-fight tests and everything as safe as possible for the community, because it is a serious virus and it does take people out, and we have to take it seriously. It's an epidemic, but at the same time, the world must now move on in a very responsible and sensible way, and sport's a big part of it. It's not only boxing. A lot of the other sports like the NBA is going to kick off. So we've got a lot of probably new stages in everyone's life, because there'll be no crowds. It's a different ballpark for everyone, and promoters and officials and everyone involved. Just the other question, what happens now, Bob? Obviously, we're all waiting for a vaccination. Dr. Fauci's saying, it'll come in January, but there's no guarantee there's going to be treatments and vaccinations. What happens to the big fights that need gates, your Tyson Furies, your Crawfords, your Pacquiaos? I mean, they can't be on ice, can they, till there's a vaccine?
No. Well, but again, let's take Fury and Wilder, which is a big fight. We did $17 million at the gate when they fought in February. Yeah. We have to see if we can keep that revenue, and we got to figure it out. So there may be places where they will allow crowds in the fourth quarter, whether it's the United States, where even Dean Lonigan has contacted us about the possibility of doing that event in Australia, with government support and everything, and we're examining that. In other words, if we could do that event in November or December, the summer in Australia, and do it in a big stadium in Sydney for like 50,000 people with the support of the Australian government, because it'll be a big attraction, particularly with English fans, we would explore that. We're also looking at Macau, where they've had no, there are very, very few corona cases. You know, there's testing to get into that area. So, I mean, if we are unable to go with a live gate in the United States for that fight, we certainly would look to put the fight in someplace outside of the U.S. and outside of the United Kingdom.
That would be massive for sports fans if we can get something like that kicking. But cutting back, fighters like Lomachenko, who don't get, like, they're not in a massive purse bracket. Obviously, they're superstars, but they don't get the money of a Tyson Fury or Pacquiao or whoever. They're just guys that want to fight, and you could probably budget them in when there's no live gate. Would he be on the agenda to be fighting pretty soon?
We, Lomas over in the Ukraine, and we've been talking with his manager, Igor Klimas, about getting him over back to the United States with his father, his trainer, and so forth. And that is being worked on right now. Loma's no problem because he has a green card, which makes him almost like a U.S. citizen. So we're working out to see if we can get that whole group, fly him to Moscow, and from Moscow, fly him into the United States. And we're very optimistic we'll be able to get that done in the first week of June. Now, I went to Loma, and I went to Teofimo Lopez, said, look, while this is going on, how about us giving each of you another fight? And, both of them said no. We want to go right into a fight with each other. So tentatively, we're planning that for September, and we may have to do that without a live gate and just rely on the pay-per-view revenue in the United States and in other places like Australia. So again, we're definitely going to get that fight done in September, and hopefully we can put that event, say, at a place like the MGM Grand, which is a 15,000-seat arena, and get permission to allow paying spectators 2,000 or 2,500, and keep them spaced and all of that sort of stuff, have them wear masks, and be able to recover a portion of that gate that way. I'm optimistic that that's going to happen. In other words, they've started in the United States today. They're opening up houses of worship for this weekend with people spacing. So if they can do it in churches and synagogues and allow congregants to participate, I think they'll be able to do it on sporting events as long as they spread the spectators out. I can't foresee when they would allow 15,000 people in a 15,000-seat arena. I think that's down the road. But I think for 2,000 people or thereabouts in a 15,000-seat arena, I think that'll happen sooner rather than later. That's the next step after doing events with no spectators. Doing events with a controlled number of spectators comes next.
That's 4 meters per person social distancing at the moment. Obviously, that's what we've got in front of us. We don't know when the next step will come, Bob. Hopefully it's sooner than later, because as sports fans, we all love the live gate. We all love the atmosphere of the crowd and what it brings. That's what sport's all about. But at the moment, you're doing
But Peter, you and I know, we have never been through anything like this even remotely before. I'm older than all of you, and I'm 88. and I've never seen anything like this in my lifetime. And so, hopefully intelligently finding our way, and we're, doing what we can before we're able to operate in the normal way we did in the past.
That's well said. Bob, before we sign off on the interview, who are the next stars coming out of Top Rank? I remember in Macau in 2013, I spoke to you and I said, Bob, who's going to be the next superstar? And you said Terence Crawford, and you were right on the money. That's before I think he was going over to America, over to London to fight Burns at the time. And I said to you, why are you going over to London to fight Burns? You said, that's how confident I am that Crawford can beat Burns. Who is the next Crawford coming out of your stable? Or there might be a few, because Top Rank's...
Well, I think Shakur Stevenson is certainly destined for stardom. I think that that he is a really phenomenal fighter. I think Teofimo Lopez, certainly if he beats Lomachenko, which is a very tall order, he's there as a big star in boxing. We have this kid who barely turned 17, Xander, Puerto Rican kid, who's absolutely phenomenal.
I've heard about him. How good is he?
Yeah.
The reps are huge.
It's unbelievable. The only problem we have is, we got him, he signed with us when he was 16, couldn't fight till he became 17, and he's a young kid. So, we signed a lightweight, and then his fight was as a welterweight, and who knows, he may end up to be a light heavyweight. So, he's growing. You can't stop growth. But he's, I think, going to be a big star. There's a guy who's been fighting for a long time, but is only coming to prominence now. The light heavyweight champion Beterbiev is phenomenal fighter.
Yeah.
So there's there's a kid I'm in love with. He's absolutely terrific. He's a middleweight, and he's from Kazakhstan. And Janibek is his name, and he is fantastic. He's going to be, I think, better than Golovkin.
Wow, that's a big statement, Bob.
Yeah, I really do. The guy is just fantastic, and he has a great presence, and he's back in Kazakhstan, but we're finding a way to bring him over and get him back in action as early as this June.
Is there any chance of Pacquiao and Crawford early next year, if you can get the bigger gates back by then, or even?
Well, again, Pacquiao. I talked to Manny by Zoom. It was first time I had talked to him face to face in a while, and this Zoom. You have Zoom also?
Yeah, I do, Bob. I do.
Yeah. So, and Manny was getting ready to go to bed. It was the morning in California, and I talked to him and Jinky, and he's ready to go, and he's ready to do that fight, and we're trying to do it out of the country. Manny would like to do that fight this year, because next year I think he'll be running for office, running for presidency of the Philippines. So he'd like to get that fight in this year.
That's going to be great if we can get it in. And Manny, as we know, he's such a superstar, and you can never write him off, even though he's 41. There's no doubt he's going to be giving Crawford a nightmare if that fight does happen. And obviously,
right.
Crawford's a megaing now as a superstar himself. He's probably the hardest boxer to beat right at the moment out of any current boxer. He's so technically sound,
right.
And there's no real weaknesses in along with Lomachenko as well. He's another guy that's so hard to beat. But thanks for your time, Bob, and you mentioned Zoom. Next time we might have to get you on Zoom. It'd be fantastic to get, because we all love
Well,
you.
then you can see, right? Everyone in Australia can see me with my new beard.
Oh, that'd be great. That'd be
because
fun.
I haven't bothered to shave during this enforced layoff.
Oh, great. Okay, Bob. Well, you stay safe. Thank you for your time, and next time we'll do a Zoom.
Okay, very good. I look forward to it.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Bob. Bye.
Right.